If you've ever watched a professional tennis tournament, you've probably noticed the kids in the corners and at the net, chasing down all of the tennis balls, throwing the balls to the players, and generally making sure that everything runs smoothly on the court. This is the ball crew. I personally have experience coordinating a ball crew for the Baptist Health Little Rock Open. I have worked with the Little Rock Open for 3 years now as the ball crew coordinator. My goal today is to talk to you about this volunteer experience and share with you the role that communication plays in ensuring that we have a successful event. Specifically, I'm going to give you an overview of my service. I will provide a communication analysis, and I will also provide communication recommendations. Let's start with an overview of the service. So the Baptist Health Little Rock Open is a professional tennis tournament. It's a men's tennis tournament, and it's sponsored by Baptist Health, and it's held every year in the spring here in Little Rock. The money that is raised from the event benefits nursing education, and it brings in tennis players that are ranked in the 100 to 200 level from all over the world. So for the tennis community, it really brings in some pretty big name players. Now, an important component of this event is the ball crew. So I served as the ball crew coordinator. And as I mentioned earlier, ball crew are the kids that move the balls around for the player. So they have to kind of fade into the background, only come out when needed, and they play a very important role in making sure that the players have the balls when they need them. I'm responsible for training, scheduling, and supervising the kids during the week of the tournament. And a ball crew typically has about 6 kids per court, and we usually run about 6 courts every day, continuously from about 9 o'clock in the morning till sometimes midnight in the early days of the tournament. So we have 100 plus kids that typically volunteer for this event, and they get really cool t-shirts, they get time with all of these amazing tennis players, and they get to have a ton of fun together as a group, just hanging out, working hard, and really spending some of their summer getting to see professional tennis up close and personal. Now, one job of the ball crew is to make sure that the condition of the courts is ready for play. And since this usually happens in the spring in Little Rock, it rains a lot. And this past year, we had a lot of rain, which will delay the matches. The ball crew actually had to go out, and this was like at midnight, and use towels to dry the courts. We had blowers, we had these squeegee mops, but to really dry the lines in certain areas of the court, the kids had to actually go out with towels and dry the courts. And there's a certain process and a way that they do this. This particular event happened one night when Jack Sock, who is was once a top 10 men's tennis player. He was injured. He's coming off of an injury playing this tournament. He was preparing for the semifinals, and it rained in the middle of his match, and we had to get the courts dry. And he was so appreciative of the kids spending their whole night, because it was 2 o'clock in the morning before we left, with towels actually on the court drying it so that he could play. And this is just, one example of how hard the kids work and really how much fun they have together with these towels out there drying the courts. So now that I've told you a little bit about my service experience and I've shared with you a story that illustrates my service experience, let's talk about how this relates to communication. So I'd like to first talk about the foundational communication principle that applies, which is messages are adapted in different ways to achieve similar results. So the kids had to dry the courts, and there's actually a certain way that you do this with the squeegees and even with the towels. And in the beginning, the kids were kind of all over the place trying to figure out, how they can dry the courts. Well, finally an official came over and worked with kids in smaller groups to specifically instruct them on how to clean the court. So messages can be adapted in different ways depending on the group to achieve a similar result. So in this instance, the officials took some with squeegees, some with towels, and really tailored their communication to that specific group of kids that were using that method to dry the court. The end result was the same, but the message had to be delivered in different ways depending on how that communication was taking place. The first communication concept I'd like to talk about is an emblem. And according to our textbook, Communication in the Real World, emblem is a nonverbal sign or a gesture that stands for a verbal gesture. So in the instance of being on the ball crew, we can see this in a couple of instances. When the kids are on the court, they have to non-verbally let their other ball crew members know when they have a ball or when they don't have a ball. So they hold their hands up and show empty hands. If they don't have a ball, they hold their hand up with a ball in the hand to show that they do have a ball. This is representing a verbal communication. Instead of saying, hey, I don't have anything in my hands, they can show that through the emblem non-verbally. Also, when they were cleaning the courts, as I talked about in my story, they couldn't always just yell across and let somebody know when the court was dry or when that particular area was done. So they had a system that they used of hand signals to let people know, you don't have to come over here, this is done. The courts are big, it's loud, there's a lot of music. They couldn't communicate verbally very well, so they would use their gestures to let people know that that court was cleared. The second communication concept I'd like to talk about is directives. And according to our textbook, directives is a verbal type of communication where you're giving instruction to someone. And directives happened throughout the entire tournament with the ball crew, but especially when they were trying to clean the courts, because that's not something that these kids do very often, especially this amount of water. So we had to have very clear and concise and direct verbal communication to instruct them on how to actually clean up the court. So now that I've told you about my service experience, I've told you a story about my service, and also provided some communication analysis, I would like to provide some communication recommendations. So given that I will probably be doing this next year, one of the goals that I have for working on with the kids is collaboration. And in our textbook, collaborating is defined as coming together for a true win-win situation. So it's not about me giving up a little bit and you giving up a little bit, but it's about both people coming together to truly find a solution to the problem and to win. And everyone wins. So collaboration is very important when you're on the ball crew. And what I found is that as the week went on and the kids were getting tired, the collaboration became less and less of a goal. You have to be able to collaborate. Sometimes that involves switching courts at the last minute, or maybe having to kind of go out when there's an empty spot and we have to problem solve very quickly and come together and find a solution. That might mean sending a kid out who just come off of a court. And as the week goes on, that collaboration starts to kind of fade away and people start to get tired and it's just a long week. So I think what I plan on doing for next year is looking for ways to maybe improve the collaboration, having fresher teams in, throughout the week, and just looking for ways to increase that collaboration so that we all win in the end and everything is covered and everything is taken care of. The ethical implication that is described in our survival guide is responsibility. And responsibility is very important during this event because you have to be out there for these professional tennis players. And if that court is not covered, then we are not abiding by the contract that we signed with the United States Tennis Association and also with the Men's Tennis Association as well. So we have a responsibility to make sure those courts are full every time. And again, as the week progresses and it's hot and the kids get tired, sometimes they start calling in and saying that they can't come to their shift or they're going to be late. So I think that we have to ensure that we are making sure that they understand the responsibility that they have as a ball crew member to be there for that player. So today I have shared with you my experience as the ball crew coordinator for the Baptist Health Little Rock Open, told you about the organization, a little bit about my service, provided a communication analysis, and also provided a couple of recommendations. So the next time you're watching a professional tennis tournament and you see all of those kids running around chasing the tennis balls, just know that that role serves a very important purpose for that tennis match, and there's a lot that goes into making sure that those kids are on that court.